Hello, my name is Tony Beers, and this is Movie Grades.
And just like the movies, we play out our last scene.
Hello everybody, Tony Beers here again. And in this episode of Movie Grades, I'm going to be talking about the Avengers. The basic plot of this movie is that Loki, since he could not be king of Asgard, decides he wants to attempt to conquer Earth. And he does this by using the cosmic cube to open up a portal to let through aliens to attack Earth. But the only obstacle in his way is the Avengers, and he decides to turn the Avengers against each other to get them out of his way. The story itself is very basic and simple. There's nothing really special about it. It's the typical evil villain wants to take over the world story. But it's what they do with the story that makes the movie good. Now, as much as I love this movie, there are still some things that I didn't like about it. One thing I didn't like is that Tony Stark and Bruce Banner, there's a few scenes where they're together, and when they speak, they're speaking a lot of technobabble that I just plain don't understand. Now, I don't know if this is actual science or just science fiction science, but whatever it is, it went over my head. I had no idea what they were saying, and honestly, during these scenes, I could have taken a nap and it wouldn't have made any difference. Watching them, I was just like Captain America, where I didn't understand a word they said, but when they started talking about flying monkeys, oh, I got that, I got flying monkeys. But the rest of the time, when they're talking their technobabble, I don't understand a word. Another thing that I did not like is after they recruit Bruce Banner, they are constantly asking him, you know, how do you keep the Hulk under control? And he tells them that he has a secret method of doing this. And once this method is revealed in the movie, it doesn't make any sense to me. And speaking of Bruce Banner, before they recruit him, he's working as a doctor. He's in this really poor country, and he's wearing a suit jacket. I was thinking, where did he get this suit jacket? If everyone's so poor, how can he afford to have this suit jacket? Another thing is Thor's costume. It changes from sleeveless to armored sleeves without explanation. He just changes his clothes, I guess. He never says why, he just does it. Another thing is that I never see him wear the Thor helmet in this movie. Now, Loki has the Loki horns, but Thor's too good to wear his helmet. Another complaint that I have is that I was hoping to see a scene with Captain America and Tony Stark talking about Tony Stark's father, Howard Stark, but they didn't. Now, the last kind of bad thing is that now that we have an Avengers movie, I'm a lot less excited to see the other Marvel sequels like Iron Man 3, Captain America 2, or Thor 2. I'm like, I don't really want to see them now. I'd rather just see more Avengers movies. Now, speaking of Avengers 2, there's a scene just a few minutes after the credits which reveal the next Avengers villain. And I was really excited when I saw this villain. I think I was the only one in the theater that was excited. I was looking around and no one else was as excited as I was. I believe that no one else actually knew who this villain was. You'd really have to be a comic book fan to actually know this villain. And everybody else was saying, who the hell is that? There's also an extra scene at the very end of the credits, which unfortunately I did not see because I thought that once they revealed the villain for the next movie, that was it. That was all the extra scenes. Now, everything else about this movie was great, and what's particularly brilliant about this movie is that they had the other movies leading up to this. You know, you had a Captain America movie, a Thor movie, and 2 Iron Man movies. And by doing this, you eliminate the need to have a backstory for every single character. Now, this is a mistake done by some other movies. Take X-Men, for example. When you have that many characters in one movie, it's hard to give enough screen time to each and every character. And the X-Men movies, sometimes they can seem like the Wolverine movies instead of the X-Men movies. Another example of this would be Spider-Man 3. They just had way too many characters to try to throw in all their stories and to fit in one movie. You had Spider-Man's story, Sandman's story, Harry Osborn's story, Venom's story, and they all put them into that one movie, which a lot of people don't like, and that's one reason why. But in this movie, every single character gets their time to shine. Even some minor characters like Black Widow, Hawkeye, or even Agent Coulson and Nick Fury get their moment to shine. Now, I wanted to bring up Catwoman's costume in The Dark Knight Rises for a minute. For a franchise that is well known for being realistic, her costume is very impractical. Now, I'm speaking of the high heels in her costume. Nobody can fight in high heels. Now, that brings me to a scene in the Avengers where Black Widow is fighting like, I don't know, about 4 or 5 Russian bad guys, and she's doing this barefoot because it's easier to fight barefoot than it is in high heels. And at the end of this scene, she goes over and picks up her high heels and takes them with her as she leaves. And she wears boots throughout the rest of the movie, and that's what she wears to fight in. This makes Black Widow's costume much more realistic and practical. I really like the tone of this movie. It has the perfect tone for an Avengers movie. It's not too serious, and it's not too silly either. It's somewhere in the middle, which is perfect. And this is the tone that the Amazing Spider-Man reboot should have. This is the kind of movie that a Spider-Man movie should be. It should be somewhere in the middle, not too serious and not too silly. There's a scene in the movie which I really like, which is basically just the Avengers arguing because of Loki's influence. And this scene is so intense, it's just as good as any action scene in the movie. My favorite character in this movie is the Hulk. Whenever I see him on the screen, I'm happy and I'm smiling and I'm laughing and I'm having a good time. Now, I love how they used humor with the Hulk. This is a Joss Whedon movie, and you can easily tell because Joss Whedon's sense of humor is in this movie. My favorite scene in this movie is when Hulk confronts Loki, and Loki is just calling him names and stuff and really just talking down to the Hulk, and the Hulk just looks at him and just grabs him by the leg and picks him up and throws him back and forth swings him around like a rag doll and slams him down on the ground and just looks at him and says, "Puny God." This part was just brilliant. It was just the best part of the movie. Of all the live-action Hulks, I think this Hulk in the Avengers looks the best. Alright, you could take the 70s Hulk TV series with Lou Ferrigno. That was the best that they could do at the time. And then you go look at Ang Lee's Hulk, which just looked way too cartoony. It just looked silly. And then Incredible Hulk, which looked really good, but I think he was just a little bit too muscular and veiny looking. This Hulk is closer to the way Hulk should look. I mean, Hulk should look like a giant caveman, basically, and that's how this Hulk looks. As far as who's better, Edward Norton or Mark Ruffalo, I thought they were pretty much equal. For the physical look of Bruce Banner, I thought that Edward Norton looked a lot more like Bruce Banner than what Mark Ruffalo looked. And for continuity's sake, I think I would have preferred Edward Norton, but Mark Ruffalo is very good in this movie, and I thought he did a really good job. I really enjoyed Agent Coulson in this movie. I thought his character was really well done. I love that they made him a fanboy and that he's trying to get Captain America's autograph on his trading cards. And he has several scenes in this movie that are really good, and one scene that I can't really talk about without spoiling it, but the actor was really great, and I thought it was a perfect moment for him to shine, and I just really like the character altogether. Now, as far as the acting goes, all the actors are great in this movie. They all do a great job. Like I said, all their characters have their own moment to shine, and you couldn't have a better cast for these characters. Except for Colby Smulders as Agent Marina Hill, because she just had a really small part. And it's not her fault as an actress. She just didn't have much to do. I mean, her part was not much more than an extra in this movie. Now, on to the action of this movie. The action in this movie is phenomenal. It is the best action I have seen in a movie in a long time. You know, when they say action-packed movie, this is the definition of an action-packed movie. The last 45 minutes to an hour of this movie is one long action scene, and it is non-stop. It keeps going and going. There's something cool happening every second of this last hour of this movie is just bang, 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 bang. This movie is the closest a movie has ever come to being a comic book brought to life. This movie is so action-packed that I don't think that they could have fit any more action in a movie. Now, some people might say, well, okay, Michael Bay makes action movies like this. You know, how is this movie any better than a Michael Bay movie? And I say simple. This movie isn't as offensive as a Michael Bay movie can be. For example, in this movie, you don't have giant robot balls swinging in your face. You know, there is no scene where you see a small robot humping Black Widow's leg. There's no scene where there's ghetto bots in the middle of this fight talking all jive and slang and stuff like that. And the humor in the Avengers movie is great. I mean, it is so much better than the humor in a Michael Bay movie. It's so much more clever, and that alone makes it a million times better than a Michael Bay movie. The special effects in this movie are terrific. Like I said before, the Hulk looks better than he ever has before in a live-action film. The helicarrier looks fantastic. The aliens look great. All the special effects are really, really top-notch. They're really fantastic. And the 3D is the best 3D that I've seen in a long time. It's not the best that I've ever seen, but it's really good. I mean, there's scenes where Hawkeye's arrow is shooting out at you, Captain America's shield is coming at you, Thor's hammer is being thrown at you. There's a lot of good use of the 3D. So, as you can tell, I really like this movie. The pacing is terrific. It's a 2.5-hour movie, and it feels like maybe an hour to me. Right after seeing it, I just wanted to see more of it. Like I said before, this movie is the closest that any movie has come to bringing a comic book to life. The tone in this movie is just perfect. It's not too silly, and it's not too serious. The action and the humor in this movie are equally amazing. This is the most fun I had in a theater in a long time. If I had only one word to describe this movie, that word would be fun. It's a very fun movie. And after everything is said and done, isn't that what going to movies is all about? Is having a fun time. And if you watch this movie, you're gonna have a good time. You're gonna have fun at the theaters. It is that good of a movie that everybody is going to have just a good time watching this. So, my final grade for the Avengers is an A. An A for the Amazing Avengers. My name is Tony Beers, and I'll see you next time.